Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And in this case, we're talking about the DePriest Center. We're honored to be joined by Dr. Deborah Driggs. She's the program director, and Abby Driggs, communications and outreach manager with DePriest Center. How are you two doing?
Doing great. How are you today?
Doing very well. So we'll talk about mental health, substance abuse, recovery, everything that you all are doing. Let's start with a little bit of the backstory and the history. So Deborah, go ahead and lead us in with some history for the DePriest Center.
Yes, thank you so much. So I have been in Middle Tennessee for about 15 years and started in private practice for mental health. And about 2016, I felt like there were some gaps in our areas of service and did not feel like I could fill those gaps in the private practice, and felt like I was moving in a different direction for establishing a nonprofit. And DePriest Center became that nonprofit in 2017. So we developed a facility, licensed facility in the state of Tennessee for mental health outpatient. And then as we have grown, moved to offering also intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization for substance abuse and co-occurring disorders for Middle Tennessee.
Talk about faith and some of the things that make you very unique.
Thank you for that. So that actually is the component that drove me to move away from private practice and pursue this nonprofit. The brick in the wall that seemed to be missing was a component of faith dealing with the spiritual domain in mental health and substance abuse needs, and incorporating a Christian worldview perspective without compromising evidence-based care. And so the uniqueness of DePriest Center is we believe we can deliver gold standard care that is spiritually oriented for those clients that seek that, without them having to compromise a gold standard of evidence-based care. So we integrate both of those, and our providers are trained, and we deliver that level of care to any individual that comes in our front door. And I believe there's a uniqueness in that, and we're very proud of that.
Talk about how individuals find you, families find you. Let's go ahead and start by starting where it starts.
Okay.
Sure. So as far as where referrals come from, where people find us, we are online as far as you can search us via Google or see us on Facebook, Instagram, different things like that. Another big one would just be through insurance. We do accept most major insurances, and so people would just simply reach out to those companies. And then a little bit more here local, we are in the process of joining our Chamber of Commerce, which in Murfreesboro, Middle Tennessee area is another point of outreach, as well as we love to partner with our local churches and people who are in need that are in the church, people who serve on the ministry teams. DePriest Center is honored to partner with our local churches to serve those individuals.
Let's go ahead and dive into how the magic works. We talked about the faith aspect. We talked about the clinical, care side of it as well, and that gold standard piece. Talk about the process, and maybe we take them in threads in terms of mental health and substance abuse, because they're a little different, but talk about the process and going through it and navigating through for recovery.
So once an individual reaches out to DePriest Center, we do a screening initially, which is typical in our industry, to determine if that individual's level of need meets the services that we provide. We want to make sure they're in the right place. And if their need is not a good fit, or we're not a good fit, we make sure that we navigate them to the right place. If it's determined that they are a good fit and this is the appropriate level of care, then we give an intake appointment for them where they come in to begin the process of being fully evaluated for what their level of clinical need is. The mental health side, oftentimes those are individual sessions that occur in the office once a week or at a frequency that is indicated by their clinical assessment. However, there are times that individuals have a higher level of need or acuity. So in those situations, we would facilitate whatever that process is for them to get that higher level of care. Sometimes that means short-term inpatient or a different type of program. Sometimes that means going to the level of care, such as the intensive outpatient that I mentioned at the onset, or even a partial hospitalization program, those of which we offer in-house. So we determine that through a very comprehensive clinical assessment that occurs early on in the process of us beginning that relationship with each client. And while we are grounded from a Christian worldview perspective, that is not a marker for individuals. We work with everyone that wants to come to DePriest Center, and we honor where they're at in their journey. And their treatment is established based on what their goals are and what we identify in their clinical assessment. So the journey in terms of clinical care really is informed by what the clinical assessment shows, which takes place over the course of typically 2 sessions. If there's diagnoses that are rendered, that's going to inform what their level of care is, what programs we put them in, what providers work for them, because we're trained in various evidence-based models. So not dissimilar to other fields. We've got 17 providers, and we all have different niches that we are more experts in the room. So we want to make sure that we also pair them with the right provider once we establish what their level of need is. And then we start that journey with them, walking through step by step, weekly sessions or whatever that frequency of need is, to get them to optimum day-to-day quality of life and for them to be able to meet their goals. So basically that's it.
I know you all are expanding. You're in the process of expanding. When you look at East Tennessee, West Tennessee, how has the pandemic and, going through that, coming out, especially around mental health and substance abuse, how has that impacted your efforts?
Well, so it has amplified the need for quality mental health and substance abuse care in not just Rutherford County, in the state of Tennessee and across our states. We stay swamped, and we could bring on additional providers on a monthly basis and still would not be able to meet the need. So the way the pandemic has impacted us is just amplified the lack of resources that we find, that the community finds in Middle Tennessee and across our state as it relates to getting quality care and getting in at a reasonable time to a mental health provider. That's not new or different. It's just really exacerbated now because of the pandemic.
When you look at opportunities on your end to really expand out and look at West Tennessee, East Tennessee, talk about some of those expansion plans.
Yes, so we actually are in the process right now of establishing a brick and mortar in East Tennessee. Our model is very unique, I believe. We're not the only ones that have a model similar to DePriest Center, but I believe that the model is unique, and the skills and the resources that we integrate and provide to our communities here, I believe, is very unique. And there's always a need for expansion, and East Tennessee now is we're about to launch a brick and mortar there. So this level of care and this model of care can be offered in East Tennessee to those communities as well. There's challenges with that because as a nonprofit, part of our model, and we're very proud of it, is we try desperately not to turn anyone away. Once we partner with them and we identify that there's a level of clinical need, it doesn't matter to us if they have funds to pay, if they have insurance that covers their services. We try to figure out how to make that happen. And so that there's a great need. So expansion is always on our mind. So we're looking right now in East Tennessee, and then we have already partnered with 2 providers in West Tennessee with the goal of branching into West Tennessee with a brick and mortar in 2024.
Nice.
Yeah.
Touch on the ancillary services. I think it's really, neat on your end, working with first responders. You mentioned the churches, disasters, when disaster happens, stepping in. So touch on some of those ancillary pieces for what you do.
Sure. So we have a program called Restore, and I'll let Abby speak to that in just a second. But some of the other ancillary services, critical incident debriefing, crisis response is a common area for us in mental health. That's oftentimes isolated to more corporate type companies. Where they have contracts with larger companies that will come in if there's a crisis in-house, and they will provide those crisis services or debriefing. Critical incident is what we call it, to the corporate world. What I found a number of years ago, and has been confirmed time and time again, is that is oftentimes not available to other environments that are not that higher end large group or corporation, particularly the church. I also have found that first responders and those that oftentimes step into those roles of critical incidents or crises for others oftentimes don't get the level of personal care that they need. So part of our Restore program and those ancillary services are to be readily available to smaller entities, churches, ministry teams, first responders that end up in personal areas of need or crisis, but can't afford or don't have access to larger resources that corporations sometimes have with critical incident services. So our team, not all of us, but enough of us, are trained in critical incident, that when there's a need, if there's a death in a church or on a ministry team, there's an incident or there's something catastrophic that occurs within the congregation, or with first responders, or we also partner with veterans and are on the panels with the VA community plan. We step up and are willing to partner with those individuals regardless of the ability to pay what oftentimes would be a very high fee that corporations are able to pay, but smaller organizations and nonprofits just don't have that funding. We step in and fill that gap for those individuals and are happy to do that.
Yeah. Abby, what would you add, and then carry that into how the community can help your efforts?
No, absolutely. So Dr. Driggs has done a phenomenal job of telling you about our Restore program and what all we do. I think that just really highlighting that here at DePriest Center, from the intake process where you're calling our front office team to the billing process, that is a huge area of interest and stress when you start to talk about the financial things, to sitting down with a counselor. Our goal here, no matter what part of the team you're interacting with, is going to be to live out our mission, vision, and values. And that is to love God, to honor God, and to love and to serve people in that way, just like scripture tells us to. And so with our Restore program, that's exactly what we do. And when people come in, we just want to meet them where they are. Mm-hmm. We want to show the love of Christ and help them pursue better health with whatever area of care that looks like. Mm-hmm. And then as far as what our community efforts look like, our events, all of that good stuff, there are multiple ways, some that would include financial donations. You're more than welcome to reach out to our team. And I believe that that information is available at some point in this podcast. If you're interested in learning more or partnering with us, we would love to share those different things throughout the year. In the different quarters, we have multiple different fundraiser opportunities where I'm currently in the midst of scheduling a Middle Tennessee golf scramble. And so that'll be a wonderful charity event. And if anybody is good at golf who's listening and watching, it's free golf lessons for me. So that's wonderful. As far as the summer goes, we always kick off a fireworks tent, and then in the winter, we really love to connect with the community and give back with turkey drives and turkey giveaways around Thanksgiving, coat drives where we are able to connect again with the local churches to organize giving out coats to people who are in need. Another way, I could probably talk for a while about what different ways to partner with DePriest Center, but two very easy ways that you can get involved and get connected really without even intentionally trying. One would be on Amazon. You're able to partner with a charity on Amazon. Those instructions would be available on our website or perhaps on this podcast as well. Essentially, you just type in DePriest Center, and every time you make a purchase, Amazon partners with us to give some money back, and Kroger does the same way. So when you're buying your groceries, you can be helping support pursuing better health.
Yeah, lots of easy ways to, like you said, do the things you're already doing and add a higher purpose to support DePriest Center. So wrap up with website, social media. Where do we go to learn more, to get involved, to take action with DePriest Center?
Yes, excellent. So you can find us at www.depriestcenter.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at DePriest Center.
That makes it easy. So DePriestCenter.com, DePriest Center.com. Dr. Deborah Driggs and Abby Driggs, thank you for all you do, you and your amazing team. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir. Have a blessed day.